What if some of America's most profitable cultural treasures began as evidence used against the people who created them? Mamie Smith sold 75,000 records in 1 month. By 2025, the U.S. recorded music business had grown to $11.5 billion. Yet black creators behind the sounds, styles, language, food, and beauty that fed those markets were called dirty, primitive, loud, unprofessional, criminal, and ghetto. That is America's two-faced bargain. Punish black people for creating something, erase their names, then sell the same thing once white consumers decide it has value. How many families were taught to feel ashamed of what corporations later called iconic? And how much of American culture was built by people America refused to respect? This is Hidden Black Chronicles, and together we bring buried stories back into the light. Today we uncover 10 black cultural treasures white America called trash, before turning them into trends, industries, and millions. Number 1. Soul food. Before restaurants began calling soul food healing food or the taste of home, many white Americans once looked at those very dishes with contempt. Cornbread, black-eyed peas, sweet potatoes, fried chicken, all of them were once labeled as poor people's food, backward country food made by black people. But once America found a way to package that flavor and sell it, the very dishes that had been mocked were placed on menus, printed in cookbooks, shown on television, and given names far more beautiful than the ones people had used before. The cruelty of this story began with the meager food rations of slavery. On plantations like Montpelier, records show that enslaved people were often given only a very small weekly allowance of food, mostly cornmeal and pork. That amount could never make up for days of exhausting labor from morning until night. At Monticello, documents recorded that each enslaved adult received about half a pound of salt pork and 10 pounds of cornmeal per week. That was treated as enough for a human being to work through heat, sickness, pregnancy, and old age. So black people had to save themselves in the kitchen. They grew extra vegetables if they were allowed a small patch of land. One small piece of smoked meat could flavor an entire pot of greens. Cornmeal could become cornbread, griddle cakes, or a meal that kept hunger away for a little while. Sweet potatoes could become one of the rare tastes of sweetness in a life where even fullness was controlled by someone else. The Smithsonian once described greens cooked with scraps of meat as a story of black survival. Because from such little food, black people found ways to feed more mouths and hold on to enough strength to keep living. But white society did not see the intelligence inside those dishes. It only saw poverty. It complained about the smell in the pot before trying to understand why that pot existed. People called those foods rough, heavy, greasy, country, and low class. The bitter truth is that while white elites looked down on black food, they were still eating from the hands of black cooks. Hercules Posey, who was enslaved by George Washington, was a highly skilled chef who prepared elaborate meals for Washington and his guests. James Hemings, who was enslaved by Thomas Jefferson, trained in French cooking in Paris and is tied to the early story of macaroni and cheese in America. History remembers the presidents, the elegant dining rooms, and the silverware on the table. The people who cooked the meals were pushed back into the shadows. When black people ate dishes born out of deprivation, people called it poor food. When white people enjoyed the cooking skills of black people in wealthy homes, they called it refined cuisine. When the media later photographed the same dishes, plated them more beautifully, and gave them a more polished name, they suddenly became part of Southern culinary heritage. Then, the Great Migration began. From the 1910s to the 1970s, more than 6 million African Americans left the rural South for Chicago, Detroit, New York, Oakland, Los Angeles, and many other cities. They could not always carry land with them, but they could carry recipes. In rented rooms, church basements, small diners, and black-owned restaurants, soul food became a way to keep home alive. A plate of food was not only meant to fill the stomach, it reminded people where they came from. Today, the same dishes once dismissed as poor and lowly appear in museum cafés, food documentaries, cookbooks, award-winning restaurants, and even luxury menus. America finally learned how to praise that flavor, but the question still remains: Why did it have to look down on black people for so long before admitting the value of what black people had already created? Number 2. Black hair. In America, a black person could walk into school, a job interview, an office, or a courtroom and learn a cold lesson before anyone asked about talent. Their hair had already been judged. Black hair was treated like a problem, long before beauty brands learned how much money could be made from curls, braids, locks, twists, and natural texture. It was called messy, wild, political, dirty, unprofessional. The words changed from place to place, but the message stayed close to the skin. Make your body easier for white people to accept. The control did not begin with modern dress codes. In 1786, free black women in colonial Louisiana were required to cover their hair with a tignon, a head wrap meant to mark and limit them in public. The rule tried to make their beauty smaller. Yet those women turned the cloth into style, using color, fabric, feathers, and jewels, until the thing meant to hide them became another way to be seen. That pattern kept repeating. Black people were pressured to cover, cut, straighten, or explain their hair, while black skill built a beauty world of its own. Annie Turnbow Malone and Madam C.J. Walker created products, schools, jobs, and business networks for black women at a time when many doors were closed to them. Hair care became more than grooming. It became work, pride, money, and a place where black women could lead. Still, white institutions kept calling the rules neutral. In 1981, Renee Rogers challenged American Airlines after its grooming policy barred her from wearing cornrows. Decades later, Chastity Jones had a job offer withdrawn after she refused to cut her locks, according to the EEOC case against Catastrophe Management Solutions. Think about that for a moment. A person could be qualified enough to be hired, then lose the chance at the door because her hair did not fit someone else's idea of neat. The classroom carried the same old lesson. In 2018, New Jersey wrestler Andrew Johnson was forced to choose between cutting his locks or forfeiting a match. In Texas, Darryl George faced punishment over his locks, even while Crown Act debates were supposed to protect students from this kind of discrimination. A child should not have to learn civil rights through a haircut. Then comes the American double face. The same textures punished in schools and offices became profitable in beauty aisles, celebrity campaigns, fashion shoots, and natural hair products. Research has described black hair care as a multi-billion-dollar industry, and black women spend far more on ethnic hair products than non-black consumers. A system first made black hair expensive to defend, then learned how to sell solutions. America tried to treat it like disorder until the market discovered its value. The harm was never only about style, it was about who had the power to call one person polished and another person unacceptable. Number 3. Watermelon. In 1905, a racist postcard could place a black child beside a watermelon, sell that insult for a few cents, travel through the mail, sit inside a white home, and teach an entire household to laugh at black hunger as if it were entertainment. How does a country turn a fruit grown for survival into a public lesson in humiliation, then profit from the lesson? The answer begins after emancipation. When watermelon became tied to something white supremacy feared deeply: black self-sufficiency. After the Civil War, millions of freed people entered legal freedom without the land and wealth their stolen labor had created. The Freedmen's Bureau, established in 1865, had to provide food, clothing, medical care, and schooling, because freedom had arrived in a country still structured to leave black people exposed. Land remained largely in white hands. Southern courts rarely treated black testimony with equal seriousness. Sharecropping and debt contracts soon tightened around black labor like a new kind of trap. Inside that suffocating order, watermelon carried a sharp meaning. Historians such as William R. Black have argued that the racist watermelon trope hardened after emancipation, when freed people used the crop to practice freedom, property rights, and market participation. A black farmer selling watermelon stood for labor that no longer moved directly into a white master's pocket. A black vendor at a roadside stand disrupted the old racial script because the transaction placed value in black hands. That is where the hypocrisy begins to show its teeth. White America praised agriculture, thrift, ownership, and hard work when those words belonged to white citizens. The same values, touched by black hands, became material for mockery. A crop connected to enterprise and survival was dragged into cartoons as proof of laziness. A fruit associated with self-feeding was twisted into a symbol of greed. The country that had robbed black people of wages for generations mocked them the moment they tried to earn from the soil. The insult spread quickly through the machinery of white popular culture. In 1866, Frank Leslie's illustrated newspaper printed an early mocking image connecting black people with watermelon. By the early 20th century, the image had moved through postcards, photographs, advertising, souvenirs, and stage comedy. The Library of Congress holds a 1902 image of African-American boys eating watermelon. William and Mary's archive describes racist postcards from 1905 and undated years showing black children with watermelon alongside other degrading caricatures. These objects turned racial contempt into something purchasable and collectible. That commercial detail matters. Racism here did more than insult black people. It made a market out of insulting them. White publishers, printers, performers, advertisers, and souvenir sellers found a way to cash in on a symbol that black communities had connected to survival and small economic independence. The theft was double. First the labor, then the meaning. A watermelon image could do quiet damage precisely because it looked harmless. It trained white viewers to see black pleasure as ridiculous, black appetite as animal, black enterprise as a joke. Even ordinary black children eating fruit could be framed as evidence against the dignity of an entire people. That is why the wound still opens in the present. In 2023, Nyack Middle School in New York apologized after students were served watermelon on the first day of Black History Month. The outrage did not come from the fruit itself. It came from the old visual grammar surrounding it, the long record of a country that once ridiculed black culture, then packaged the ridicule for sale. Watermelon carries African agricultural roots, Reconstruction-era struggle, black patience with the soil, and the bright intelligence of people who turned scarcity into a path toward independence. White popular culture tried to bury that meaning under ink, laughter, and merchandise. Yet the original truth remains visible when the record is read with care. The fruit was stained by the people who feared what black freedom could grow into. Number 4. African American English. She be working. For years, a teacher could mark that sentence wrong. Yet in African American English, habitual be means she works regularly. A black child could speak with clear rules at home, enter a classroom, and be told that those rules sounded broken. Bias arrived wearing the face of correction. In 1979, black children and their mothers in Ann Arbor, Michigan, took the issue to federal court. The children understood their teachers, but the school had not learned how to use their home language as a bridge to standard English. The court ordered the district to train teachers to recognize black English instead of treating it as proof that a child lacked ability. Oakland tried a similar approach in 1996 for roughly 28,000 black students. The school board wanted teachers to understand the language children already spoke so they could teach reading more effectively. Much of white America answered with ridicule. News programs mocked Ebonics, comedians turned it into a punchline, and the students' real struggles disappeared beneath the laughter. The punishment followed black speakers beyond school. Research by John Baugh and other scholars found that listeners could often guess a caller's race from a single word such as hello, and landlords could change their response before meeting the person. Then advertisers suddenly heard value in the same speech. Fast food chains, clothing companies, and brand accounts borrowed black phrases to sound funny, young, and fashionable. After Kayla Newman made On Fleek famous in 2014, major companies used it to sell products while she received little of the early profit. The classroom had called black speech incorrect. The marketing room copied it carefully. Once the voice could sell burgers, clothes, and attention, the old contempt became a business tool. Number 5. Jazz, blues, and rock and roll. In 1920, record executives doubted that a black woman singing the blues could sell. Mamie Smith answered with Crazy Blues, which sold about 75,000 copies in its first month. The industry did not suddenly learn respect. It learned that black talent could make money. Long before that record, black communities in New Orleans had built the sound of jazz through brass bands, funeral processions, dance halls, and second-line parades. Yet the recording, often called the first jazz record, made in 1917, came from a white band. Black musicians had shaped the music for years, but many lacked access to studios, labels, and radio. The pattern continued when blues and gospel fed rock and roll. Sister Rosetta Tharpe drove an electric guitar with fierce gospel power before America crowned any king of rock. Big Mama Thornton's 1953 recording of Hound Dog reached number 1 on the R&B chart and sold about 500,000 copies. 3 years later, Elvis Presley's version became far more famous, while Thornton said she received only about $500 from her hit. Little Richard met the same wall. His voice, pounding piano, makeup, and stage energy helped define rock. Yet white singers were often used to make black hits sound safer for white radio. Chuck Berry wrote Maybelline, but DJ Alan Freed appeared as a co-writer, even though he had not written the song with Berry. By 2025, recorded music in the United States reached $11.5 billion in wholesale revenue. That money came from many genres, yet the industry cannot tell its story honestly without the black artists who built its sound. America once kept their music in a separate race records section, then carried the same music into stadiums, films, advertising, and global profit. Number 6. Banjo. A banjo may sound like white country music today, but its earliest American story began in the hands of enslaved Africans and their descendants. In Jamaica, in 1687 to 1688, Hans Sloane described gourd-bodied string instruments made by enslaved black people. In the early 1780s, even Thomas Jefferson wrote that the banjar came from Africa. Those first makers had no factories, patents, or names stamped into wood. They carried the memory of West African lutes across the Atlantic, then rebuilt that knowledge with gourds, animal skin, wood, and string. The instrument survived because black people refused to let every part of home be taken from them. By the 1830s, white blackface performers had learned to use the banjo on minstrel stages. They darkened their faces, copied black music, and sold cruel cartoons of black life to paying white crowds. A real black instrument became part of a show built to make black people look foolish. Then the same instrument was cleaned up for sale. Around 1845, William Boucher Jr. replaced the handmade gourd body with a wooden rim that could be produced more easily. Later, makers such as S.S. Stewart promoted the banjo as a respectable parlor instrument, while pushing its African-American roots out of view. By the 20th century, the banjo had become a symbol of folk, country, and bluegrass, so thoroughly recast as white that many black musicians holding one were treated like strangers to their own inheritance. Yet artists such as Dink Roberts, Joe and Odell Thompson, and later Rhiannon Giddens kept the black banjo tradition alive. America first mocked black people with the instrument, then sold the instrument after removing black people from the picture. Number 7. Hip-hop fashion. A black teenager in baggy jeans could be watched by security, turned away at a door, or called a gang member. Put the same loose shape on a runway, raise the price, and suddenly it became bold fashion. Hip-hop style grew in black and Latino neighborhoods during the 1970s, long before luxury brands wanted any part of it. B-boys and B-girls flattened their laces, pressed sharp creases into jeans, kept sneakers spotless, and turned tracksuits, Kangol hats, leather jackets, gold chains, and work boots into a language of pride. They made ordinary clothes carry attitude, place, and identity. Run DMC wore Adidas before Adidas paid them. After My Adidas became an anthem, the group signed a $1.6 million deal in 1986. Hip-hop had already done the advertising. The company arrived after the crowd had proved the value. In Harlem, Dapper Dan used Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and Fendi logos to make coats, tracksuits, and jackets those fashion houses did not offer black customers. His shop was forced to close in 1992 under legal pressure. Years later, luxury fashion embraced the same oversized logos and street silhouettes. In 2017, Gucci showed a jacket widely compared with one of his designs, then later partnered with him. Black-owned labels also proved that this style could build real businesses. Cross Colors said its yearly sales once passed $100 million. FUBU reached more than $350 million in revenue in 1998. Yet backward caps, sagging pants, bandanas, and oversized clothes were still used to label black youth as dangerous or unprofessional. The insult stayed on the street while the profit moved into stores. Hip-hop fashion did not become valuable when luxury copied it. Luxury simply learned very late how much black style had always been worth. Number 8. Gold teeth and grills. In 2006, schools were banning grills because officials called them distracting or unsafe. In 2024, the American Museum of Natural History placed hip-hop jewelry under gallery lights and praised the skill behind it. The gold stayed the same. What changed was who had the power to describe it. Gold teeth had long appeared in Black, Caribbean, and Latino communities, sometimes as dental work and sometimes as a sign that a person had earned enough to show it. Yet on a black face, that shine was often treated as vulgar, low class, or criminal. Films and news reports used it as a sign that someone was dangerous before they had done anything. In New York, young people turned that familiar sight into something new. Eddie Plein, an immigrant from Suriname, helped shape the removable grill. After damaging a tooth, he was offered a permanent gold crown and began thinking about a version that could be worn and taken out. From his New York business, he made custom fronts for Flavor Flav, Big Daddy Kane, Cool G Rap, and Just Ice. The style later moved south. In Houston, jeweler Johnny Dang and rapper Paul Wall helped turn diamond grills into a major part of Southern hip-hop. Some custom pieces sold for tens of thousands of dollars, while rare celebrity sets reached far higher. Then came grills. Nelly, Paul Wall, Ali, and Gipp took the song to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 2006. That same year, students could still be ordered to remove grills at school. A black teenager's gold smile could be mocked in a hallway, used to sell a hit record, then praised as art inside a museum. America learned to admire the shine only after black creativity made it impossible to ignore. Number 9. Long nails and nail art. In 1988, Florence Griffith Joyner ran faster than any woman in history while wearing long, brightly painted nails. She won 3 Olympic gold medals and 1 silver, and her 100-meter and 200-meter records still stand. The nails that critics called impractical were wrapped around metals no one else could reach. For many black women, nail art had already grown far beyond a simple manicure. At kitchen tables and neighborhood salons, acrylic extensions became small canvases for color, rhinestones, airbrush designs, names, money, and family memories. The work demanded a steady hand, patience, and imagination, but society often answered with the same tired words: loud, cheap, ghetto, unprofessional. In the 1990s, nail artist Bernadette Thompson helped carry that style into music and fashion. She worked with Mary J. Blige and Lil' Kim, then created the famous Money Manicure, using acrylic, rhinestones, and pieces of paper money. Fashion editors once pushed nail artists toward beige or clear polish and often left their names out of the credits. Thompson kept insisting that nails were part of the design, not an afterthought. The double standard did not disappear. Political commentator Simone D. Sanders received complaints that her long nails were unsuitable for television, even though no one had shown that they weakened her knowledge or judgment. Years later, MoMA added Thompson's recreated Money Manicure to its design collection. The museum did not make the work artistic. It only gave an official label to what black women and nail technicians had been creating in plain sight for years. By then, the beauty industry was earning billions from products and styles that had once been used to mock the women who made them visible. Number 10. Voguing and ballroom culture. Long before pop stars told the world to strike a pose, Black and Latino queer and trans people in New York had already built ballroom into a place of family, competition, fashion, and survival. Modern ballroom grew partly from racism inside older drag pageants. In the late 1960s, Crystal LaBeija openly challenged contests that favored white beauty standards. With Lottie LaBeija, she helped build the House of LaBeija, where Black and Latino performers could set their own rules, choose their own family names, and judge beauty on their own terms. A house functioned as a chosen family. Mothers and fathers taught younger members how to walk categories, find support, prepare costumes, and survive rejection outside the ballroom. Categories such as executive realness exposed a cruel truth. A person could look fully qualified for a powerful job on the ballroom floor, while racism, poverty, and transphobia kept that same door closed in real life. Voguing grew from this world. Willie Ninja helped refine and spread its sharp poses, hand movements, and runway control. Madonna's Vogue reached #1 in 1990 and made the style famous worldwide, with ballroom dancers Jose and Luis Extravaganza in the video. America welcomed the movement into pop culture far more easily than it welcomed the people who created it. The same imbalance followed Paris is Burning. The film preserved precious history and reportedly earned about $4 million, while 13 participants later shared roughly $55,000. During the AIDS crisis, ballroom members helped create the Latex Ball, combining competition with testing, education, and health support. While pop culture sold the pose to the world, ballroom kept doing the quieter work that made survival possible. These stories leave us with one question. How many things were mocked simply because black people created them first? Food, music, language, hair, fashion, and art were treated as shameful, then repackaged and sold once the world discovered their value. Remembering this history means returning credit, protecting memory, and honoring people who created beauty while living under contempt. Tell us which story stayed with you most and why. Subscribe to Hidden Black Chronicles and join us as we bring buried black history back into the light where it belongs. Every name remembered helps repair the story America chose to forget.